What's good, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. We are back with another video. I just wanted to do a quick recap of Teofimo Lopez win over Pedro Campa last night. This is his first fight back since his loss to George Kambosos Jr. All right, and this is his first fight moving up to 140. All right, so look. I watched the fight live yesterday, all right? Wasn't able to do live commentary with you guys, but I did watch the fight live. And I was able to go back and watch the highlights of Lomachenko, watch the highlights of George Kambosos' fight, and watch this fight again as well. Because I wanted to see and compare Teo from 135 to the new Teo at 140. All right, this is Teo's first fight back since his loss to George Kambosos, and this is his first fight at 140. So I wanted to really compare how he was versus how he is right now. All right. First of all, I just want to congratulate Teofimo Lopez for coming back and winning. You know, you just never know, especially when a guy doesn't seem to be, in the best mental state. I know he was going through some things at home. I know that there was like 4 or 5 cancellations, reschedules for the first fight with George Kambosos. And then, like I've said before, and I broke down a fight with George before, I thought he fought a terrible fight. I thought the corner did a bad job as far as, coaching him throughout the fight. It was just a bad fight for him, and those fights happen. And the fight was still very, very close. I barely edged it for George Kambosos, but I do believe he won the fight. All right. But I'm glad that he won this fight because I do like Teofimo Lopez. I'm not a fan of what he says in some of his interviews. Yes, he does seems like he come off delusional. I'm not a fan of his dad, but I do like him a lot as a fighter. And that's what all that really matters to me. I'll even take it a step further. Out of this batch of lightweights, all right, and even though they moved up to junior welterweights now, this group of lightweights, and I'm talking about Tank, Devin Haney, George Kambosos, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, all of these guys. I was the most impressed with Teofimo Lopez's win over Lomachenko. That's still, to me, the best win out of the few good wins that we got over the last few years. I'm not trying to take anything away from the other fighters that did a lot of things. Devin Haney was able to beat George Kambosos, basically almost damn near shut him out with just a jab alone. George Kambosos, huge underdog, one of the biggest wins of last year in all of boxing, and one of the best fights of the year, of all in boxing last year. I still believe the most impressive win as far as pure performance against a high level fighter to me was Teofimo Lopez's win against Lomachenko. And I know a lot of Lomachenko fans don't like that. A lot of them feel that Loma either won or only lost because his injury. And they don't like to really give credit to Teofimo Lopez. A lot of them wanted an immediate rematch right away. A lot of people felt that Teofimo was ducking him after winning that fight, which I don't agree with because Teofimo Lopez was the only one. No, let me not say lonely because you had Devin Haney as well. But Teofimo Lopez was the first guy that I saw out of this group of fighters that was really pursuing Lomachenko. The only reason why I even knew who Teofimo Lopez was years back is because of the interviews that he was doing where he was basically calling out Lomachenko when he was much younger. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about years ago now, right? So I was most impressed with that performance. That win there was the most impressive to me because he looked sharp. Obviously he was the bigger guy, but he looked sharp. I love his hand speed. I love the power. I love the boxing. I love the punches to the body. Lomachenko is not the fastest starter, and I know he likes to download information. That's what ESPN and Top Rank love to say when they're doing the commentary for his fights, and it's very true. Lomachenko likes to see what you got, what you're working with, gives you a couple rounds, and then he starts to really wear you down. But Teofimo Lopez was very dangerous, definitely his most dangerous opponent to date at that time. I said all of this. I thought Teofimo Lopez, young, powerful, big, good boxer, hand speed, very athletic. All of those things, I knew that was going to be an issue for Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? Stylistically, I thought it was going to be an issue. And I understand Lomachenko's plan in that fight. And I know I'm talking about Lomachenko and other fights like now, but it's all gonna go in full circle, and it's all gonna come together at the end. I understand Lomachenko's game plan. His game plan was really to wear the young fighter out. Teofimo Lopez had only been in only one 12-round fight leading up to that Lomachenko fight, and it was one of his worst performances in his professional career against Nakatani. Right? Didn't look good in that fight. Went 12 rounds with him, and Lomachenko's plan was to burn him out early and attack later, which is what he did and was very successful after the 7th round. He started to pick it up in the 7th round, and after that, he began to take over, and I gave him those last rounds leading up to the 12th. I gave Teofimo the 12th round. All right, the last 8, 9, 10th, 11th rounds, I gave Lomachenko. All right, but I was still very impressed with that, even though I know Lomachenko needed shoulder surgery and everything like that. I think that was still the best win. So I have to give him a lot of credit for that. But moving forward, when I watched the Lomachenko fight, when I watched the George Kambosos fight even though the George Kambosos was just poor strategy, they obviously went in there to knock out George early. They did not appear to prepare for a 12-round fight with George Kambosos. And you could tell in the wild way that Teofimo Lopez was fighting. Never seen him fight like that before. You could tell based on his dad in the corner and the instructions he failed to give him. You can tell by all of that. And he lost the fight. He paid the price. But even watching that fight today, going back and watching some of the highlights and going through the rounds, I can see that when I compare Teo from 135 in those two fights, Loma and George Kambosos, and then watch the fight from last night with Campa, I can see that there's a major speed difference. Okay? Overall, Teo won the fight. I gave him pretty much every round except maybe one round. Teo looked good. I liked the way he was putting his punches together. Wasn't too impressed with the defense in the fight. I think he got hit a lot. I think if he were to fight tougher guys at the division, I don't think he would have been able to withstand that much punishment from a better fighter up there. The top tier fighters at 140, okay? If he is going to fight a Regis Prograis or Josh Taylor or whoever, I think he can't win the fight getting hit that much, or at least he would be giving more rounds away if he were to get hit that much. All right, but against Campa last night, it wasn't a bad thing, because the guy was just, it's just a tune-up match, all right? And Campa was clearly bigger than Teo. You saw it at the weigh-in, you saw it at the face-off, you saw it in the ring. But Teo was able to hold his own. I like the fact that he was boxing. I think a lot of people like myself that criticized Teo in his most recent fight against George, we wanted to see him box. And I was happy to see him box again. I think he definitely gets credit because he boxed his way to the stoppage. And I highly suggest that with every puncher that's out there, every boxer, puncher, every puncher or whatever, box your way to the knockout. We know you have the power. We seen your highlight reels. You got crazy knockout power. But box your way. You can box. He's a good boxer. Box your way to the stoppage. He scored an early knockdown against Campa, and then he was able to put him away in the 7th round, and they stopped the fight. And I thought the stoppage was decent enough to stop it. You know what I'm saying? I see some people on the internet that were like, thought it was just a little too early for the stoppage. I think Ciampa could have took a little bit more punishment, but at the same time, he was taking a lot of punishment, So I'm not mad. There's no complaints here for me. But overall, I think speed is the one thing that I realized that it didn't look the same. I think T.O. did look a little rusty in there. It's been a while. Think there was maybe some lack of confidence in there, but as the fight went on, you can see that he started to get more confidence in himself, and that's just all a part of life. And losing coming off of your first loss, you want to just, we've seen this. I've been watching boxing all my life. We've seen it happen plenty of times, and I think he just needed that boost, that drive. And I saw in the fight, and as the fight went on, he started to regain that confidence. So now that he won this fight, everybody's bringing up who's next. Everybody's bringing up Ryan. Everybody's bringing up Regis Prograis and all the other guys at 140 and 135, because those guys at 135 will be at 140. Some of them already there. I still want to see those fights with Devin Haney and Tank and Ryan and stuff, but you got guys at 140 that are real killers. What I don't want is T.O. to go into the ring with one of these real killers in his next fight. I would like to see him adjust at the weight and try to bring that speed up that he had at 135. I just thought that he was just a little bit more explosive at 135. Even in the loss to George Kambosos, I just seemed like he was a bit sharper, a bit more athletic. I want him to bring some of that speed up to 140 and get used to fighting at the weight. And I believe that he should fight another fight at 140 before fighting one of those top tier guys from 135 or at 140. Just my opinion. Now, if there's an opportunity to fight a Ryan Garcia in his very next fight, of course, take the fight. If they can make the fight now, go for it. You know what I'm saying? It'll be a big fight. Obviously, if that were to happen. But in my opinion, since these guys do have their whole career ahead of them, I personally think that T.O. needs to fight another guy at 140, but someone better. Someone that can box better. Pedro Campa, the problem with him, when I saw his highlights, blocks a lot of punches with his face, all right? Has a lot of fights, has a pretty decent KO ratio, but not top-tier fighters, not world-class boxers, okay? Was only able to lose one fight, but who was he fighting? He wasn't fighting anybody real, So with that being said, I would like T.O. to fight a good fighter at 130, I'm sorry, 140. So I was thinking guys like, damn, I just had this up. So I was just thinking of guys like Jose Pedraza, good boxer, not big puncher, but a good boxer. Someone that you're just not going to walk through. I know Pedraza lost to Lomachenko. I understand that he's lost to Tank Davis. I understand he has losses on his record. But still relevant, still fighting good fighters. You know what I'm saying? And he's a good boxer, a much better boxer than Ciampa. Not the biggest power, but he's a good boxer. Someone that can pull away in certain rounds, He fought Jose Ramirez, and it was a very competitive fight, and that's a recent fight, okay? Victor Postal, another guy that, former champion, former champion, has been in there with all the top-tier fighters and gave them all trouble. Maybe Terrence Crawford was the only fighter that made it look fairly easy. Everybody else struggled against him. And I know he's older, but it's another guy that boxes really well, doesn't have the power, okay? But someone like T.O. can fight and improve after that fight, Might have some trouble because you got Postal. He's rangy. He's very tall. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to fight, keep the distance and everything like that. So I think that's a good name to fight if you're not going to fight a top tier fighter at the division right now. That's another guy that's there. That's a decent fighter for Teofimo Lopez. I was trying to think of. I was thinking of Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios is another guy. Can't be careful. You gotta be careful with him, okay? Because Mario Barrios looked good against Tank. He looked good against Keith Thurman, even at 147. All right. I think that is another opponent that if he's available and if you're not gonna fight a top tier, and I think you should have another fight, someone that boxes very well. Mario Barrios has a very good one too. He knows how to attack the body. He knows how to mix his punches up pretty well. He knows how to control distance. He knows how to fight on his back foot as well. He can trade. He's durable enough to go 12 with Keith Thurman at 147. I know he was stopped by Tank, but just another fighter. So I'm just throwing out names out there of people that I would like to see Teofimo Lopez fight if, before getting a huge fight. I don't think he should go straight, not based on that performance. That performance I saw yesterday, it was a good comeback win. But I think he can be better than that if he has another fight at 140 before fighting a Regis Prograis. I don't think he should have that win and go straight into Regis Prograis in his very next fight. I don't believe so. I know some people out there think that he could beat Regis Prograis. Some people said that before he even fought George Kambosos. When there was a lot of talks about him going to 140, when he was still holding all of the titles, there were a lot of conversations about whether or not he can beat Josh Taylor, who was undisputed at the time. People are going to forget these conversations, but I remember at one point, people were saying that Teo can beat the guys at 142. They're not saying it now. They're real quiet now. But these are the things that people were saying when he was holding 4 belts and Josh Taylor was actually undisputed. All right, so those are some of the fights that I would like to see. Again, obviously, if there's an opportunity to fight a Devin Haney or a Ryan Garcia or a Tank Davis or whatever, some of those guys that eventually will move up or have fought and moved up to 140 already, then take those fights. But if he wants to be comfortable at the weight, like Ryan looks strong at 140. He looks stronger than he ever did. He looks bigger. He looks healthier. He looks quick. He looks extremely fast. That hook that landed against Javier Fortuna, there's videos out there that even in slow-mo, you can't see the punch. That's how fast he is. Not saying Teo can't beat him, but what I'm saying is that we can see the improvement with Ryan. All I'm trying to say is I want to see that same improvement with Teo. And in this fight, Teo's back. He looked like he still got it. I want to see improvement. I can't sit here and tell you I saw an improved fighter. I just seen a fighter that lost a step a little bit, but regained it. I want to see him improve. All right? So that's my thoughts on it. Again, good win. I know he was doing some interviews. He was saying certain things. I'm not really concerned with that because there's a lot of fighters that I do like. I'm just not a fan of what they say. I'm not a fan of Teofimo as far as what he says outside of the ring. But I am a fan of him as a fighter. I think he's a very, very good fighter. And I think he had a great run. Obviously he took the loss that he shouldn't have took. But I think the Teo that I saw box last night would beat George Kambosos. All right? Not the Teo that we saw before. I think the Teo from that night would beat George Kambosos. But I don't think that was the Teo I saw against Lomachenko. The Teo I saw against Lomachenko was way sharper. I mean, listen, all you got to do, look at the highlights from one fight, go right to the Lomachenko fight, watch that, go back to the Campos fight, watch both fights, or at least watch some of it. Teo looked sharper than me. He looked quicker than me. He looked overall better than me against a better quality opponent, okay? And a lot of fighters fight at their best when they're stepping up. So I think Teo can probably do better. But what I'm saying too is I think he should still have another fight before these super elite guys at 140. Definitely the guys at 140. All right, so those are my views on the fight, man. I think I covered everything. All right, leave comments, please. If you are new, subscribe to the channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up as well if you liked the video, enjoyed it. Smash that like button for me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.